Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't seen the last update from the last video, definitely recommend checking it out. I know it was a bit scatterbrained, I apologize for that, but today we're going to be doing some community VOD review. The goal of the series is to help you learn to improve by reviewing your gameplay, and hopefully you see mistakes similar to what you need to improve upon. If you'd like to have your footage reviewed in the series, I have in the description instructions on how to submit your footage. Alright, let's get into the first clip. Now for clip number 1. This is an Apex Legends player with over 500 hours, and I want to highlight one thing that they're doing in a really positive way is head glitching here. The only downside I would say is that the peaks are, you'll see them do it again over here on the far right, is that they know where the head glitch is, but their peaks are very short, and that comes from a habit built from games like PlayerUnknown Battleground. Now, these peaks, there's not enough damage, but it's enough for them to really start to spray down. What you want to do is put in a significant amount of pressure. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. This player is very well in tune. You'll see that they make a really smart play here. They asked a question, they survived, and they came out ahead on this fight, but what could they have done better? Now, this is a moment where you definitely did luck out here, and we're going to backtrack here. Because notice where you're being shot from, and you'll see the bullets that are going to whiz by in a second on the far right. So you're being shot from in front, but you see the bullet that just came there, and we're going to slow it down. You'll see the bullet zip past. So it looks like they missed you on the right over there, that you're kind of playing with RNG, which means that when you're trying to isolate a fight, just like you did earlier, you're trying to isolate the 1v1. So you do backtrack, which is a really smart thing to do. And I want to highlight one thing you did really smart here was using the drone just to stop the pressure to get this opponent from pushing. And you definitely got the advantage on them at this point because you managed to get a full bat off, but they hadn't even healed. So this is a really good encounter. We're going to highlight to begin with how you could have avoided this fight all to begin with, to where you had this pressure where you didn't have to worry about this per se. Because now you're playing closer with your teammate. I know the Vantage got knocked because they were shot in the back. One thing here, whenever you're pretty much facing a fuse, I know the natural instinct is to needing to run through fire. Unfortunately, they shot the fire at you. There's not much you could have done. And one thing, don't hesitate on getting the armor swap. There was a bit of a hesitation there on what you should do. Those seconds do matter because you could have gotten shot from a mile away. You were literally 1 HP. And at that point, those hesitations are what make and break. The lifeline could have, you could have called for a drone here, go healed by the lifeline, so you're playing with her instead. You committed to the med kit, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to highlight what could you have done better, and most people don't really notice this, especially because it's pubs. But you have to, let's go back. Let's backtrack here. Whenever this happened. So whenever you're taking these pop shots, realize you're making a lot of noise. You know that there's one more team around the area and you have eyes on one of them, but you don't know where the other team is at right now. So if you're repositioning and the goal is that if you're going to push and you're repositioning, it's because you're trying to move forward on the fight. Right now, the team is very stagnant. So if we go back again, look at where everybody is at on the mini map. And I'm going to pause it. I'm going to use my cursor here. Everyone is looking forward right now. And let's keep an eye on the next like 5 to 10 seconds on where everyone is going to continue to look. Right now, you're kind of playing the entry fragger. Realistically, the Vantage should be the one to create some damage to make an opening, but look where everyone's looking. Nobody has really checked the back. You did a quick skirt look back there, but nothing to really calm to say, hey, I'm going to hold this angle. When you're holding an angle as a team, you have to really look at all angles because it's a battle royale, right? And this is a major mistake that I see. Now, what you want to do with your sprays here to put pressure is your goal is to not do pop shots like that. It's to actually lay down a spray and put pressure to get them off height. If you're just going to do pop shots and work your way into a fight, meaning they can't do significant damage to you. Now, everything you did here afterwards was pretty smart. I like the plays, the ideas that you have with the crypto drone, which is why I gave as much positive reinforcement with that as possible. I think your mind is in the right track. Just make sure, even when you're playing pubs and you're going to be playing with randoms, is that you want to watch those angles. And if you see two of them watching forward and you're not making a push forward, then you have to watch the back. It's not fun. It's not where you get your damage, but you have to watch the back because then you can ping to the teammates, hey, there's a third party here. Or if you're in that choke, think about all the angles that you could be shot from. If you're pushing forward and you have eyes on one team, you got to play like Sherlock Holmes. You got to do the math on this. If you're looking forward, where could the other team be? They could be located over here, but if they're not taking shots yet and you have no visual, then they're most likely not going to be over there. They could actually shoot you from this angle over here, so you need to keep an eye on the far right angle over here because you honestly could have gotten shot in the back instead. What if they rotated here and all three of them were, you like ran right on top of them right now? You kind of have to think a few steps ahead with everything you do, and it's a little annoying because again, it's not going to be your ideal damage, but hopefully I'm spending more time in this clip because a lot of individuals always ask the question, whether it's ranked, whether it's pubs, what could I do differently? It's always about the setup. It's about how you set yourself up for success because now this team has this positioning and they know the information of where the other two teams are. So again, let's go on to clip number 2. Clip number 2 is a very interesting one because you're being hard gated because of zone, which is not easy. This is always probably your worst case scenario. You're coming into zone and there's a team, meaning that even if you fight this. Now I want to highlight what you could have done differently here. Your movement is solid, your Q is solid using it, but where could you have used it? That's the question. A lot of Horizons tend to make this mistake of using their Q where it's not going to be optimal and realize where you got yourself stuck. So your team, after you res them, you're going to have to be here to hold for them. Your Q that you used was to put some aggression, but the Octane decided to back out from the scenario. Your Q would have been good here to fly up and do damage and hold, and then use the Q to back up towards your teammate or rotate towards the left to find an opening. Realize that there's 11 squads still remaining here. There's 11 squads, meaning that you're more likely to get run up on at this point with the fight outside of zone. And a storm point, you know, it's like this is what I would assume would happen in this scenario. So try to, like, that's kind of the theme of today's video. I'm sorry if that tap of the mic kind of picked up, because once you're in here, it's not that your aim was bad. It's not even that your peaks are bad, but your teammates are located outside the building and they're not pushing, and it's hard because if your teammates don't comm, you have to kind of think, okay, if my teammates don't comm, what information are they providing to me? So you went for this one and your teammates are still not here, unfortunately, and there goes the fight. Now they have an uphill battle and it's going to be very hard for them, and then you're going to fly outside of zone here to get a res, but realistically, the moment that you could have used the Q to put pressure, and I always recommend for Horizons to practice that pressure, if we go back, is to use it here, so then you have the option to fly back to the team to get right behind cover, or use it to fly the opposite way this way. But you use it to push forward, and what happens if you push forward? You're creating a gap between you and your team, unfortunately. And unless you went in and you just one-magged them, let's say you're up here and you did significant damage to the Pathfinder there, and you fought them here, or you saw in the teammates' feed here that they got a crack, or they're commenting that they're going to push with you, you needed to get out of this situation as soon as possible. What I would scream in this scenario, there's a Horizon alone inside, push her, she's by herself, just swing her, just push her as hard. That's what you would do. It doesn't matter positioning, she's by herself, go push her. You know, like, no matter how good the player is, you know that they're isolated inside. So again, use your Q as like a way to create an opening for your teammates. Use it as you had the ult to buy yourself some time. Have that time, but make sure where you position yourself afterwards. This could be used for Pathfinder's device. This could be used for Octanes whenever you're trying to stim. What positioning are you putting yourself in? Because otherwise, if you gate yourself away from the team, then you're going to be pretty much screwed unless you come around the corner and one-mag somebody. But I guarantee people, this looks like it was the beginning of the rank split, that individuals are going to call out that you're isolated, unfortunately. Let's go on to the next one. Now, what's interesting in the email that I got regarding this clip is that you won your fight inside here, but it said that you were in a 3v3 against It's Timmy. Now, there's a few things I want to highlight, is that not every player is beatable. Everyone has lost, okay? I have lost, Timmy has lost, Hal has lost. We lose games, okay? That doesn't detract it from anybody's skill level. That doesn't make you worse. It doesn't make them better. Now, yes, maybe they're better in regards because of their time played and their comms or whatever they're doing. But it doesn't mean you can't get to that skill level, okay? I don't want people to get discouraged about where they're at in terms of their skill level. If you can VOD review and you can take this process, you can improve and realize even from top pros what mistakes that they're going to make. And with this BR, there's mistakes galore. So you had a great cleanup here. I want to highlight that. You guys pushed this building. You didn't let up on the pressure. Now, you do the opposite here in a second. If there's only 3 squads remaining and you're going to back away from what would be, I guess you would call this a power position. You have a good position on the map, and then you don't really waste a whole lot of time looting, which is good, but you got to remember to heal up as fast as possible, which you do. And I think the team does heal up. So we're going to skip ahead for just a second here. Everyone pretty much gets topped off. So you are in the same situation the other team was in. So right now, you could play the back part here, you could play the roof so that you can back up. This is a good call, and you are calling to your teammates to back up to a different position, but you also have to realize whether or not they're going with you. Now, it can be hard to corral teammates to make a decision. So what I would see in this scenario, if I saw a Valkyrie back away from a position and I realized that they were isolated, is I would push forward at that point. So this time as you're trying to back away, once they got him isolated, you lost the fight. It wasn't necessarily because they instantly were better. What they were better at was calling the fact that they were isolated. Your damage here against Timmy was really, really solid. So Timmy does a thing that almost caught him out right here, is that there's 2 people here and he popped a bat. You didn't pop your heal to reset either. Now, try not to panic when you're in these scenarios, right? If you popped a heal and popped a, because your teammate is supposed to cover for you during that time frame. Let's say you're right here and there's a, I think that's a Wraith, unfortunately, is that you need to get back in better positioning, right? That's what they did. That's what Timmy did right there, is that they went back into smart positioning, because we're pausing here. They went back into smarter positioning, and now you're out in the open. That's what good players are really good at doing, is isolating you into what would be a not so positive scenario. And now you're at a massive health advantage. It doesn't even matter if Timmy lands his shots or not. You're at a massive health advantage. And why did he white swing that last guy? Because he knew that he had the advantage and that it was a 3v1 in that scenario. And I know you asked a question. It could have been Timmy. I don't really know. I mean, he's got one of the OG badges, so, you know, it could have been him. So the biggest thing when you look at the positioning, it's all about positioning, right? When do you give up space? Don't give up space. Claim dominance on space when you know it's a better spot in the map and your team is healthy. Your team is pretty healthy here. So if I go backtrack, your team is overall healthy and you have red armors. There's something to fear. You can hold these spots right here, this spot, the little box on the right, which they did. But if you go back, where is the zone going to pull afterwards? It's most likely going to pull up here where my cursor is, right? It's not going to pull to the back. If it does, that's very lucky. But even the space in the back here, you know, it's hard for you to move forward. This is an open field. So try to think a few steps ahead of like where the zone is going to pull and where you're going to be at a disadvantage, right? Your Bloodhound unfortunately got knocked. So what's that going to do as a reminder is that it's going to force a lot of pressure against you. You can't really stop that. You have a nice head glitch right here, and you could have stayed there with it and healed immediately. So you got to heal. You got to use those heals, those batteries, and if you didn't get batteries, then you got to prioritize them in your healing. Now, you pushed here, and you have to remember, again, another thing here is that you were shooting a Pathfinder, but then you saw a Wraith. But then you decided to stay in the fight knowing that you were at a health advantage. Keep calm under pressure, stick with your teammate, reconvene, and then reposition if you need to. That's how you win these fights and how you win these encounters. It all comes to trusting your teammate. Even if they don't cover for you, they're meat shields, okay? Even if they're bad randoms, it doesn't matter. They're there as a body, right? If Timmy shot the Caustic, who takes less damage, and you used a full mag on him, you could have shot Timmy for free in that scenario. Let's say like he yeeted in and then got eliminated, right? That's how you counter. And everyone makes mistakes. Everyone loses. Nobody has a perfect game ever. And if they do, well, then that's when you see it on YouTube, right? Hopefully this series is still helpful. Appreciate your patience as we kind of get ramped up on the channel. Hopefully this advice is helpful. Don't stress when you're facing players that are potentially better. Use your positioning, think smart, play together, and you can win those fights. So trust me, I go into a fight and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's 3 people here. Oh my gosh, I'm dead. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't just beam 3 people all at once, right? That's why it's a team-based game. It's how you can still win the encounter and how you can improve and do better. Thank you guys. I will be streaming on Saturday. I look forward to hanging out with you guys then, and I'll see you guys all real soon. Bye, everybody. Game.